Hello everybody, Scott Golden with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series here. And this is a relatively eventful particular episode as we move into the 25th of the month of February in 1984. And what we see here is new talent abounding. Quite a few new people taking shape in the Texas area for we don't know how long, but they're here, and we will denote them here. And a couple of first-time matches and a women's match. So lots of different things that we may not expect. Kamala and George Weingroff. Weingroff, a journeyman wrestler who has been other places, but his first foray into world class, perhaps here in Texas at an earlier time, but it'd have to be prior to 1982, at least in the Dallas area. Kamala is his opponent, so things not looking particularly good for him, as most people that face Kamala find the same fate. We did see Kamala handled a few weeks ago by Andre the Giant in a post-tag match attack. We also do see Kamala using the old armpit nerve hold on his adversary before hitting him with chops and a few splashes. Kamala continuing to be a menace here in the world-class area, and he does so here. We then move to the next contest post his victory as we see Kelly Kiniski, the son of Gene Kiniski, taking on Tom Ernesto. And Kiniski isn't around too terribly long in world class, I do not believe, but he is here. And obviously Gene Kiniski, former NWA champion in the 60s, and a standout from Canada. Kiniski never quite finds his niche in pro wrestling, does have a run in New York for a little bit, maybe about a year or two at maximum, but Ernesto handling him pretty handily early. We have seen Ernesto pass through before. He is a bit more of a journeyman, going all over the country and doing various things, but Kiniski here, not that familiar with his work before this time frame. Haven't seen terribly much of Kiniski. Very basic wrestler, arm bars, leg locks, and the like. But good technician in terms of application of holds and such. And really doesn't waste a lot of motion in there, which is always a good sign. Good abdominal stretch. The one thing I'm noticing that a lot of guys do is the tap of the hip right before a hip toss. It's probably always been there, but not something that I'm was terribly familiar with, but I notice it more and more now, so maybe it's been there all along, and I'm just starting to notice as I go through this. But a backbreaker by Kiniski, and a victory off of the backbreaker. Odd way to finish the match. Not particularly a finishing maneuver, but maybe one here. We then move to Penny Mitchell and Leilani Kai. Of course, Kai is the lady who faces Wendy Richter at WrestleMania 1, the inaugural WrestleMania. And we do see that she and Penny Mitchell and many others, trained by, obviously, the fabulous Moolah. Of course, Kai goes on to be the only female competitor that is present at both WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 10. Useful trivia for those who care about such things. And fabulous Moolah doing the training for most of them. Women seem to pass through the Dallas area about twice a year. Same for Little People, so they are attractions. Never quite the same time every year, but Mitchell and Kai seem to square off. Good wrestling for what it is by those standards. Obviously much different today, although leaping head scissors and such by Mitchell. There is athleticism to be had, and I think 70s and 80s women's wrestlers, female competitors, did not get the level of respect that they were given, yet, or that they were due. Yes, they had very basic matches, head scissors, takeovers, headlocks, arm bars, and the like. But at the same time, they were meant to be an attraction, not meant to outshow the men, and didn't really have that many of them to formulate full divisions. So when you had your match that went around the horn, you did just that, and you enjoyed it. You made good money. They probably, honestly, women in the era probably made better money than your first 2 or 3 matches on the card because of the traveling status, and it was a way to see the world. So cool deal. A straight jacket arm tie hold by Kai, and Kai willing to cheat to get an advantage here, using the knee across the throat. Not terribly unwilling to use some advantageous to her maneuvers, but they are given more time than I'd expect, probably about 10 minutes or so, which for the ladies just coming in is a big deal. Kai with a leg drop across the throat again, and turned it into a head scissors. So even turning an impact-based offensive maneuver into something. Mitchell goes over, monkey flips her out of the corner. Monkey flip, a move we don't see too terribly much anymore. And the referee loses a bit of control because we see that second monkey flip. And then a cover, 1-2, gets the near fall and, kind of just goes through the motion, so to speak. But Kai continues with the kickoff, and we do see Mitchell with the missile-style dropkick gaining the victory. And then we move into Missing Link versus Iceman King Parson. Link, of course, managed once again by Skandor Akbar. Parsons has, in fact, if you've been following us at all here on the World Class Review series, Parsons has, in fact, been feuding with Akbar for many a month now. And, Link and Parsons, certainly a styles clash. Link tries to use headbutts, dives, kicks, punches, bites, does whatever he needs to do. Parsons, known more for his fiery comebacks. So, interesting clash of styles. Link tries to break momentum early. Any offensive maneuvers do not make him particularly thrilled or happy. He stalks around the outside, breaking that momentum. And Parsons, though, not impressed with the Link or the distractive abilities of Akbar. And we move through the contest with Link taking over the second half, always holding the back of his hair as if he's going to use his head as some sort of missile. Then we see Kamala make his way out again. We have seen Kamala interfere in a couple of Iceman King Parsons matches now. Link actually does a maneuver where he tries to hit a diving headbutt, falling headbutt on Parsons, but does so on the ring apron, which looks reasonably painful. And Kamala makes his way out, jumps the Link, and obviously that's not going to lead to anything but a disqualification. Referee stops that, and we've got maybe the makings of a Kamala versus Iceman King Parsons feud somewhere down the road, and that's interesting for Parsons. Parsons has been here almost a year and a half now, and it is worth noting that he is steadily climbing the cards. Our main event is Chris Adams versus Buddy Roberts. Roberts, of course, 1/3 of the Freebirds, and also a guy who you can always get a good quality match out of, even if it's short. He doesn't seem to go the 60-minute matches. Of course, Adams is still flanked by Sunshine and still wanting to tie up loose ends with Jimmy Garvin, even now. And that's one thing I miss about wrestling back in the day. The episodic television led to feuds that would last months, half a year, sometimes a year or longer. One of my favorite feuds of all time, Tito Santana and Greg Valentine, went a year and a half. So good fire from Adams, and it is good to note that Buddy Roberts does have his hair back completely. Roberts does get his offense back, although injuring the leg of Adams does seem to be a main focus for him early. Doesn't work all the way, but we even see Adams do a hop step before the super kick, before cheating and choking or trying to stand on the throat of Buddy Roberts. So Adams getting a little bit more of an edge than average. And they go to Adams is sent to the outside, which leads to, again, Buddy Roberts trying to gain an illegal advantage where possible and potentially necessary. Doesn't get everything he wants out of it. The suplex from the outside in by Roberts gets a 1-2 count, just a 2 count, and we got less than a few minutes left in the broadcast, and I do like that it is, in fact, that the Mid-South and World Class both would go right up to the last 1 to 2 minutes of a broadcast before ending wrestling action. I've always had an interesting dislike for talking segments closing wrestling shows, but one thing of note here is that Roberts goes spilling out to the floor, is cast out by Adams, and goes sprawling across what I assume is the ringside timekeeper's table, but sprawling across the table. Table falls over in the process, which table bumps of any sort, weird to see in 84. Obviously, 10 years later, they become commonplace in ECW, but in 84, you don't often see a guy bumbling over a table. But needless to say, Adams is continuing his foray into trying to win the match. Actually surprised how long this match goes. Probably went 10 or 11 minutes, which for Buddy Roberts is a big deal. Not so much for Adams. But Adams makes his way to the top rope, misses gets the knees up, does Roberts on a top rope splash from Adams, and it's always interesting. You don't really see a lot of Adams, missing high-risk maneuvers. You see him once in a while, but Adams usually perfects certain moves like the drop kicks and the super kick, but gets kitchen sinked right before the match closes here, and without a doubt, Roberts kind of frustrated. Jimmy Garvin makes his way back into the ring to jump his adversary right at the close of the program. And that's how we close February of 1984. Next week's program a little bit shorter in review because of the untimely death and the acknowledgement of the death of David Von Erich. So a little shorter review then, but we'll probably be through the year of 1984 this week. That's my goal within the next 5 to 6 days to get through that. My goal is to have all of World Class done sometime in October, if not sooner. But that means stay with us here and keep your feet on the ground and your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.